What is going on, everyone? There's another ACK Spotlight Series interview special, and this week we have another returning artist, familiar face. First off, I just want to say big thanks because he was in the Music Mix Showcase and he was in the Country Class Showcase. We have Noah Hudson here. Noah, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not too much, man. I'm good. How are you?
And not too bad. Summer's finally starting to get here. We got beautiful weather out, so I mean, I can't complain with that at all.
Definitely.
For those of you that don't know, Noah's kind of a friend of a friend. We kind of go back up to New Hampshire, Lake Winnipesaukee days back in the day. Shout out to the Southerly Shores family up there.
For
Kind
sure.
of in a disarray up there now from people leaving and stuff like that, but we go back a little ways. So before we kind of kick off into some of the questions, why don't you just tell people a little bit about yourself for people who don't know who you are?
Yeah, for sure. So I was born in Massachusetts originally, and then my family ended up moving to New Hampshire when I was in second grade. And that's kind of like I didn't start really in my music journey, you could say, until I was in New Hampshire.
Mhm.
I had like started to take guitar lessons, but not really fully in depth yet. And then everything kind of took off from there. And now I'm a singer-songwriter down in Nashville, Tennessee. So I moved here like 3-4 years ago to go to school. And now I just live here full time, just graduated. So loving life down here.
That's awesome, man. Eventually, hopefully, that's the dream for me is to move down to Nashville at some point.
Definitely.
Such a good place down there. I was trying to go last year, but obviously with the pandemic and all that stuff, I couldn't
Yeah,
get down there.
that
So
definitely caused some complications for sure. It's a great city though. You got to make it down at
no,
some point.
exactly. No, at some point, hopefully this summer, I'm planning on trying to make a trip down there at some point this
Definitely.
summer. So kind of without further ado, we'll just jump right into the questions. And basically the question I always like starting with is where did music start for you? Like when did you start singing? Like was it at an early age? Did you start later in your life? And then obviously I know you mentioned kind of like playing guitar a little bit. So like when did that all come about for you?
Yeah, so it started out super early. I was really young, and I don't remember this personally because I was so young. But apparently, according to my mom, when I was like 2 or 3 years old, I told her that I wanted to play guitar and I wanted to play guitar loud. Now, obviously, now I'm a country artist, mostly acoustic and whatnot, because I don't play with a band. But still ended up playing guitar. My hands were too small when I was really young, so I couldn't start taking lessons until I was 6. I got a guitar when I was 5 and I would like noodle around on it, but I didn't start lessons until I was 6. And I didn't really start like in-depth weekly lessons until I was 7 when I moved to New Hampshire, like I had mentioned before.
Hmm.
I didn't start singing actually until I was around 11. And that's because my mom and guitar teacher would actually like constantly push me to sing for people because I would sing at home and in lessons and whatnot with them. And that kind of got me out of my comfort zone. I sang for the first time when I was 11 at a guitar recital. And then the rest is history. Been singing ever since. So.
No, that's awesome. And like I've been a fan of yours for a while, and I know like my family's been a huge fan of yours, like from playing up the lake and stuff like that. So
Definitely.
like
I
it's
appreciate
just
it.
yeah, no, and it's just cool because like you work with a lot of cool and talented like singer songwriters as well. Like I know you
Yes.
do a lot of work with like Trent Wayne's a good friend of yours that you do work
Yep.
with. It's just cool because you have so many cool originals. Like I just like I always love just like scrolling through some of your posts and just like listening to them on repeat just because
Definitely.
they're so cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I
No
love
problem.
writing. That's my real passion, I guess.
Yeah.
I love to sing for people, but writing I love. So
No, trust me. Like I love writing, and that's how I started in 2018. I just started writing, and then it just took off from there, working with all these other artists and collabing and stuff like that. And
for sure.
it's a passion, honestly, at this point. I'm not big. Like I don't care if I make it big out there. Like I'm not looking for like all that fame and stardom and stuff. Like it's fun for me, and it's on the side
For
right
sure.
now, and that's just how it is.
That's awesome.
So like obviously country artist. Who are some of your inspirations in the business? And then who would you say are some of your inspirations like that like kind of really pushed you? I know you kind of said like your mom a little bit. Was there anyone else that was like an inspiration to you?
Yeah, it was so mostly for like personal life, just my mom, my family, they've always been huge supporters of mine. Um, and then my guitar teacher that I had mentioned, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't never started writing. I wouldn't be the guitarist I am today. And that's like super important because we lost him like a year and a half ago, I
Mhm.
believe now. So that was super sad. But I mean, I wouldn't be who I am as a musician today if it wasn't for him and my family and like just my closest supporters. So
No, that's awesome, and I do apologize for that loss. I do actually remember you did like an hour show on Facebook Live
yeah,
for doing that. I was watching that whole thing. That was really
yeah,
cool and special.
they set up a scholarship fund for him to help kids get to music school, which is really great. So we were raising money on PayPal and
That's
whatnot for
awesome.
that. But
No, that's like really cool. Like kind of like music business wise, like who are some of your inspirations like in country music right now?
yeah, so some of my favorite artists right now, especially, I always like to listen to the artists that write their own music because that's what I want to do.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I do right now. And so, like Hardy, Ernest, Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs are just like the monsters right now that are killing the game.
No, absolutely.
Incredible writers, great singers. But I love people too, like Ryan Hurd. He's not quite as well known,
Yep.
but he's written some big hits for like Florida Georgia Line and Luke Bryan and whatnot like that. So
No, awesome. It's always cool. I was listening to a song the other day, and I think I had mentioned it in the country clash because Lacey May, she sang "I Hope You're Happy Now" by Lee Brice and Carly
yeah,
Pierce. It's always cool to note that like Luke Combs wrote that, and
yeah,
that was his first to reach number one as just a songwriter,
just the artist,
which
the
was like
writer. Yeah, yeah,
which is like really cool. I always find that just like a cool fact because sometimes like even another good example is like Chris Stapleton. Before he kind of like came out, he was writing a lot of like cool hits like for a lot of these people that no one really knew about
for
until
sure.
he came out on his own, which
Yep.
is cool. Um Next I want to touch up is this like because obviously I'm a huge fan of all your music and stuff like that is your creative process like when it comes to writing a song. I know you work with a lot of people, but like
Yeah.
how do you guys like even like if you just like solo writing, like how do you like start writing a song? Like where does all like that like kind of like build into like the whole song?
Okay, for sure. Yeah. So definitely not a tough question. There's just a lot to explain.
No,
So
absolutely.
if I'm writing by myself,
Mhm.
which I don't do honestly enough, I will admit now because I'm so ingrained in like the co-writes and working with other people. When I write by myself, typically it takes an idea that I have that I'm like really inspired that I want to like cover completely on my own. Like I don't want to bring somebody in because I have like the exact vision that I want for this song.
Mhm.
And in terms of where it starts, sometimes I'll hear like a melody in my head or something that I'll do like a little voice memo on my phone so I can go back to that later.
Yep.
Or it'll be like a title or just a encapsulating idea that I can really drive to be like the hook, like
Mhm.
the point that the song gets to in the chorus.
Yep.
And then the verse kind of we flesh it out so it explains that, like leads up to it. Second verse will kind of go back and better explain the hook.
Mhm.
And then the bridge is usually like a little turnaround. So it's all very it's not formulaic, but once you do it a lot, you kind of get the pattern. And obviously it changes with every song. But it's kind of the same way also for co-writes. We do it the same way, except usually it's just a title or like an idea that everybody has in their phones. And we'll go through a bunch, like I'll throw out two ideas. My buddy will throw out two ideas.
Mhm.
We'll decide what we want to go with, and then we'll kind of map it out. So we're on the same page.
Yep.
We have that same story in mind,
Mhm.
and then same process that I explained before.
No, that's awesome. And like I'm always big on like storytelling. Like that's like where I like that's a lot of the music that like draws me in is just like that story from
For
starting with
sure.
the like just like it's just like reading a book, like just like from starting from that first chapter and then kind of like
Hmm.
pulling through and learning the whole story and then at the ending just have it all explained and like that's like where like the hook and chorus comes in and stuff like that. So it's just storytelling such a big thing for me.
Yeah, and that's actually why I got into country music because back in high school and when I first started, I was doing like a lot of pop rock,
Yeah.
kind of alternative stuff. And the reason I switched over to country is I just fell in love with the absolute like storytelling that you can do in the songwriting of it. So
No,
it's
exactly, and
awesome.
that's, like, where a lot of, like I mean, because I love country nowadays, like, don't get me wrong, but, like, '90s, early 2000s country
Oh
is, like,
yeah.
where I reside just because, like, that's, like, that old classic, like, storytelling vibe, like Travis
Hmm.
Tritt, George Strait, George Jones, like, all of them
Definitely.
and stuff like that, so that storytelling is just, like I when I see an artist do that, like, I just fall in love with, like, a lot of their music and stuff like that because it's so cool.
Definitely.
Um, Next question is like a lot of I think we mentioned this before we started the interview is like a lot of artists always have trouble with this question just because it's cool to like kind of figure out because you can tell like who is really their own artist at the moment and like who's still kind of developing into like what they want to be.
For
So
sure.
with that being said, is like what makes you Noah Hudson compared? Because like nowadays with the pandemic and stuff like that, and TikTok is a huge influence.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people trying to like push and make a name for themselves. So, like, what would you say makes you Noah Hudson compared to like all these other new upcoming artists out there?
No, for sure. And so that's definitely a tough question. Um, since right now I have been focusing mostly on writing for other people or just writing in general and not really focusing on my music and stuff that I'm going to put out because I'm not at that point yet. Um, I can't really say there's anything definitive. I'm like working towards, I know what kind of songs I'm going to sing,
Yeah.
like as my artist kind of path. But right now I write like a lot of super country stuff, and that's not me because I'm from the North. And I don't want to be like a poser and be trying to be something that I'm not. So I can't right now 100% say, oh, this is me.
Mhm.
But I can promise that once I find my niche, I will 100% be like, it'll define me from other people.
No, absolutely. I totally get that. And just like even like I know you have like a lot of your own originals, but even when you do some covers and stuff like that too,
Mm-hmm.
I can just like it's like your voice is distinctive enough that like I can listen to a bunch of songs in a row like mixed up, and then like if yours comes on, I could be like that's Noah Hudson, like I know who he is. Just
Definitely.
because like your voice is very distinguished and stuff like that. And you just have like a really cool range in your vocals that you can just kind of cover a lot of stuff.
Definitely. Well, thank you. Yeah.
No,
I
of
love
course.
covering songs because I mean, I'm
No, and
a
I'll
fan of so many of these writers. It's fun to sing their stuff too.
no,
So,
exactly. And I was actually thrown back because when you did that when we kind of go back a little bit, when you did that Facebook Live for your guitar teacher and
mhm.
stuff like that, you I think it was the last song you did. You said you usually close out with it. And like I was trying to guess. I'm like, he's talking about it. I'm like, I'm trying to guess. I'm like, I feel like it's gonna be Luke Gomes, but then you just threw in God's Country by Blake Shelton.
Yeah.
Like just that rendition that you did was like really cool and just like kind of your take on it and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's the best part about a cover is you kind of make the song your own, which is a whole other thing. Super
No,
fun.
exactly,
So,
and that's, like, another big word that I love, using as instant identity is people
mhm.
that can kinda just take a cover from a big name artist and just kinda make it their own and turn it into, like, some like, they can keep most of, like, the stuff, like, the same and, like, stick to
Yeah,
the original, but if you can just add some of your own texture and flavor into there, it just, like, makes you that like, it just gives you that instant identity saying, "Oh, that's, like, who he is," and that's kinda his spin off of it,
for sure.
which is really cool. So kind of getting into like the future wise, like what can we expect like down the road from you and like what are some of your goals? I mean, like right now you're writing and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
obviously you do want to get like some of your own music out there and just like what can we expect down the road from you?
Yeah. So last year, and it was kind of thanks to the pandemic, I really dove into songwriting for the first time more than I ever have, at least. And like in high school and whatnot, I probably wrote like, I don't know, 15, 20 songs a year
Mhm.
that like weren't great, in my opinion, now looking back on them. And last year, I didn't write from like March to May, I think, or maybe like one or two songs because I was super uninspired with COVID and everything else being locked inside, can't
Yep.
do anything. And a lot of the time with songwriting, you're drawing from that real life experience in order to write these songs because you want them to be authentic. You want people to relate to them. And last year, I really dove in from May to December, and I think I wrote like 60 to 70 songs
Wow.
just in that like 7 month period.
Mhm.
And this year, I'm trying to go for like over 100. So I guess just writing as much as I possibly can because going back to like defining who I am as an artist, I want to write and perfect my craft before I put out any of my own music.
Mhm.
But I can say relatively confidently that I'll probably have music out like within the next year from now.
Awesome.
So just everybody keep an eye out and be ready for that, I guess.
No,
We'll
exactly.
go from
No, and
there.
like trust me, when you start releasing music, I can't wait for that because I'll definitely be blowing that up. And I know a lot of friends and family will be blowing that up for sure. Just because, like I said, even some of like the originals that you have now are just so good. Like I can't wait for you to kind of perfect those and like get those. Like it's just cool.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate
Um,
that.
no, no problem. And then like I know you're kind of performing at some places down there in Nashville. Like what's like kind
Yeah.
of like the because it's kind of is it easing up down there with COVID and stuff like that now?
Yeah. So we actually just dropped all of our restrictions just got dropped. So as long as the business doesn't mind, like you can wear no mask inside and
Mhm.
whatnot. And it's like pretty much full capacity to my understanding.
Awesome.
So it's live music is 100% coming back down here, which is amazing. Because like I said, I do love to play for people. Like it's so fun
No,
to be able to do
exactly.
that. So
No, so that's awesome. So like so the music scene's definitely back down there, which is cool. I know up here in Mass they're gonna start easing the restrictions up too. I think
Hmm.
he just said the other day that they're gonna start doing stuff, so which is nice just because like we're finally getting to see the light at the end of the tunnel,
For sure.
which is really cool. So because like just that live music, and that's why I hosted those like the music mix and the country class
Yep.
showcase, just to try to get that feel of live music kind of back out there for people to listen to.
For
Just
sure.
because I actually, as much as I love music, I have never once been to a concert.
Really.
I was supposed to go to
That's
a
crazy.
my all-time favorite artist, Chris Daughtry. I was supposed to go see
Okay.
I was supposed to go see him last March, but that's when COVID first started up. So then they postponed it
Yep.
till June, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Maybe I'll get to go see it in June. And then June came around and it was starting to get even worse. So then they
Yep.
postponed it till this March. And then finally they just kind of said, no, we're just not going to do it. And I was so bummed because
Jeez.
I had like the VIP pass and everything. Like I was so excited to like go meet him and stuff like that. But
For sure.
hopefully one day I can get down to Nashville and at least hear some live music at some point.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So that's kind of about it for questions I have. Getting to my favorite part usually of the interviews, and I know everyone's favorite is hearing some live music. So you know you said you would be willing to play a song for us tonight. So if
Yeah,
you
for
want to
sure.
give us a little in depth on what song you're gonna do, and I'll just let you kind of take the floor from here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to play a new one. Y'all might have to bear with me because I think I literally wrote it last week, like right before I went on vacation.
Oh, okay.
With a really good buddy of mine that I write a good bit with, Matt Mulhair. He's a great writer artist and actually lives like right down the road. One of my best friends. So he's down here in Nashville doing the thing, as they say as well. But yeah, we wrote this on May 4th. Um, and I don't want to give too much away because there's kind of like a double meaning. But I hope y'all like it. I'm gonna tune up really quick and we'll get going. Somebody asked me again with a couple of friends at a party in town. Yeah, I've been single for a minute, so I'll grab a bud and start to make my rounds. I'd seen enough outside when I made my way out to the house. Saw a pair of sky blue eyes. Now all I can think about is I know she's out there grabbing for another call out of the cooler, dancing around on the floor like a fool. Her smile's gonna knock me down when I walk back out. I can see it in the air. That fire outside ain't the only one burning tonight. It's a matter of time in a world so big, man. She could be anywhere. But I know she's out there. I know she's out there. I wasn't looking for something. I just wanted to go out and have a good night. Now look at me wondering if just that glance was love at first sight. I'm headed out that door, making my way to the yard. Try and make a move that might be the hardest part. 'Cause I know she's out there, grabbing for another call out of the cooler, dancing around on the floor like a fool. Her smile's gonna knock me down when I walk back out. I can feel it in the air. That fire outside ain't the only one burning tonight. It's a matter of time in a world so big, man. She could be anywhere. But I know she's out there. I know she's out there. She's standing there, I'm walking up to introduce myself. I'm shaking in my boots, I think another beer would help. There's only one way that go. 'Cause I know she's out there grabbing for another claw out of the cooler, dancing around on the floor like a fool. Her smile when it knocked me down. When I walked back out, I can feel it in the air. That fire outside ain't the only one burning tonight. It's a matter of time in a world so big, man. She could be anywhere. I know she's out there. I know she's out there. I know she's out there.
Awesome job, man.
Thank you.
I'll just tell you, like I said, all your stuff is just so cool. Like even if it's like solo or if you're writing like collabing with some of your friends and stuff like that, you guys are just all so talented. It's crazy.
I appreciate it. Man.
I will say I think it's one of like the newer ones that you wrote. My favorite one I think so far still is Weekend.
Yeah.
I think that's still up at the top for me at the moment.
That's one of my favorites right now too. We wrote that back in February. Yeah, on a writer's retreat. Yeah, I think I mentioned that on the Country Clash.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, because I think you performed that on the Country Clash one. So that's still one of my favorites up there.
So I actually wrote that one with Matt too, and then Trent Wayne that you had mentioned. So that was the three of us.
Awesome. No, yeah, you guys are just such talented writers, and I mean, just keep doing you. And everyone, like, if you're down in the Nashville area, please go check Noah out. Super talented. I know you have a couple of shows that you're coming up here in like June and August and stuff like that, and playing a few shows back home up in New Hampshire, right?
Yep.
So definitely, if you guys are in any of those areas, definitely go check them out. If you want to tell the people kind of where we can find you on some social medias and stuff like that before we end this.
Yeah. So everything's pretty much the same. Instagram, Facebook, and my website are all Noah Hudson Music. The website's obviously just noahhudsonmusic.com. And then my TikTok, because I fell into the pressure, I made one of those finally. Been on there for like a couple months, I think, is Noah Hudson _music. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. So that is it. Noah, thank you again, man, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We'll definitely keep out for some new music from you and just keep doing you and enjoy the Nashville scene, man.
Will do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is another episode of the Spotlight series. Keep checking in every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We have a new artist every Sunday, so please tune in, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in.